Welcome back to the TwinSpires jury. I'm Ashley Anderson here with James Scully and Darren Sicali to talk our best bets and fades of the week at Churchill Downs, Belmont at the Big A, and we'll look at some Santa Anita racing ahead of Memorial Day weekend. And before we jump in, I am going to mention real quick, since it's live, in a couple of hours, less than 2 hours, we have a big double carryover at Horseshoe Indianapolis. In the late pick 4, we have 92K and 132K in the late pick 5, which starts in race 4. Post time is 3:43 p.m. So coming up pretty soon if you want to jump in on those carryovers. We aren't going to be talking those specific races, but wanted to mention that before we jump into our best bets and fades of the weekend. And James, I'll start with you with your best bet. Where are you going to play that this week?
I'm going to go with number 5, Mucho Mojo, in race 8 at Churchill Downs on Saturday. Mucho Mojo was a good second last fall at Churchill Downs, and then he competed over the Pettit track at Turfway this winter and returned to Churchill Downs on May 2nd with what I thought was a very sneaky fourth-place effort. Now, in this race, the favored was My Romeo Lima, who set the pace. Mucho Mojo went out there. He's in the yellow cap there, fighting on at this point. The two runners that you'll see go by him on the outside I thought were clearly on the best part of the track. Like I said, the favorite in this race was the front runner. Mucho Mojo took it right to him from the start, put him away, entered the stretch with the lead, and then just got run down. And let me just say that on May 2nd, I thought that the way the track profile changed, races 8 and 11 were on turf that day. And in the race 9, the Kentucky Juvenile, the speed faded in that race. Off the pace runners ran 1, 2, 3. In race number 10, Obezos closed from last to first, upset the St. Matthews. And then in the next and last dirt race, Mucho Mojo ran a good race on the front end. So I think, this is the kind of scenario I like when horses run a respectable performance against like the track profile, come back next time. I think this is a good spot for Mucho Mojo to take a step forward off of that. Should get value, 6-1 on the morning line. That's who I'm going with this weekend, Darren.
Yeah, good pick. Those starter allowances are tough, but definitely like the angle there. Like the horses getting off the Tapeta. That's been a profitable angle, and I expect the horse to run quite well there. I'm also at Churchill Downs, Ashley. Race number 4 is a maiden special weight on the turf course, going a mile for fillies and mares. Number 2, Celebrity Row. For Brian Lynch is very interesting. It's one of my favorite angles in racing. I am a huge proponent of what's known as the speed fade angle, which is a horse that has a poor looking running line, and then the second lifetime start shows much more early interest before fading in the stretch. That's exactly the profile that you're going to see here with number 2, Celebrity Row, who debuted in a maiden special weight at Gulfstream Park, where she did not get off to a good beginning at all. Her chances were completely compromised from the start. She came back less than 3 weeks later, ran again in a maiden special weight, and showed an abundance of early speed, making the front before getting just a little bit tired in the stretch. Now looking to come to Churchill Downs off a series of good workouts, looking for the third time to be the charm. Catches a field here that I don't really see any world beaters from a speed figure standpoint. The logical horses in here, like Everything Bugs Me, they're fine, but nothing over the top here that I think she needs to worry about beating. So Celebrity Row in her third lifetime start off that speed fade angle is my best bet of the weekend, guys.
Got a high percentage trainer here off layoffs in 90 or more days. And Brian Hernandez obviously doing well at Churchill. So I like that pick. And you picked a tough race with a maiden special weight, and so did I. Those are always kind of a toss-up, but a good chance to get maybe some value. So I'm going to go with number 1, She's a Little Stinker, at 10-1 in race 11 at Churchill, a 7 furlong maiden special weight for fillies and mares. And She's a Little Stinker is by Gunrunner, who has a 16% sire win rate with first-time starters. And she's out of a dam who has 3 winners from 3 starters, including a stakes winner, Lady Mystify, who won the Grade 3 Remington Park Oaks. There you have it right there, Lady Mystify. She also finished 3rd in the Double Dog Dare last year at Keeneland. So really good pedigree here for She's a Little Stinker. Also, Wayne Catalano is a 17% winner with horses making their debut at the maiden special weight level, and a 14% winner with first-time starters in general. Jose Ortiz is named to ride and just paired up with Wayne Catalano to win with a long shot at Keeneland. Where you at, Vince, at 11-1. So looking for them to get the job done here at Churchill as well. This is a $400,000 yearling purchase at the Keeneland September sale. I like the pedigree. Track bias is favoring the rail from last week at Churchill, so I'll go with the 10-1 price. There's two other first-time starters in this field that I think look good as well. We've got Come As You Are at 8-1. That's 9 on the program. And then we have number 6, Queen of Paris. That's 7-2 for Brad Cox. Probably going to take a lot of money, but I think we got a shot here at 10-1 with number 1, She's a Little Stinker.
I think you mentioned the top 3 contenders for me. I looked at all those firsters in there, and you took the best price, so I can't fault you there. Wayne Catalano, a respectable, nearly 15% first out trainer from his last 80-some starts. So I like your angles there, getting a little bit of a price in this finale.
Yeah, I was real close to number 9, Come As You Are, because of the workouts at Churchill, but got to go Wayne Catalano with his percentages as a first-time starter, maiden special weight level. So, all right, well, let's talk the horses. We've got a nice picture of Wayne Catalano there. Let's talk the horses that we're fading at a short price. So, Darren, who are you going with?
Mammoth Park has a nice stakes on Saturday. The Cliffhanger, mounted 16th on the turf. There's no morning line out at the time that I made this, but the selection. But I'm pretty sure Data Man is going to be favored off the win last time out for Graham Motion. There's nothing wrong with the horse. There's nothing wrong with the win. But he had a perfect setup that day where he was able to stalk from a 2-wide position, where his main rival from that race, Forever Super, who's also in this field, got stuck down on the inside of runners and did not really get a chance to run until like the last 30 or so yards of the race, where he had to angle out going around 3 other horses. And by the time he got clear, he was never going to be able to get to Data Man. I think there's a good chance that if they reverse the trips that day, Forever Super might have won. If they could reverse the trips here, I think Forever Super is definitely a better play at what will be a better price. So I just expect off that perfect setup win, Data Man with the big connections to take a lot of money here. And while he can certainly win the race, I just don't think his post-time odds are going to be really reflective of his chances to win. So I think he's going to take a lot of play. So we're going to fade Data Man in the Cliffhanger at Monmouth on Saturday.
It does look like he's 3-1 on the morning line now that they've come out with the prices, and Forever Super looks like he actually is 5-2. But I can see what you're saying. A lot of money probably coming in on Data Man, having gotten the better of Forever Super, and you got a 9-horse field, so I'm sure there's some other runners in there to play as well. James, what do you think? Who do you have?
My best bet is going to be number 6, Genetics, in race 6 at Churchill Downs on Saturday. Genetics listed as the 5-2 morning line favorite in this main special weight. And the thing with this 3-year-old filly is that this is her first start since November, and she ran 4 times last year, and her numbers, her speed ratings, all of her numbers I looked at are far from overwhelming in this spot. And the real issue with Genetics is the fact that in her last couple starts, or 3 of her 4 starts, she's had trouble getting out of the gate. She's really struggled at the start. So she's been a confirmed off the pace 1-run closer. There's no guarantee she'll get out of the starting gate on Saturday in her return. And I'll just be honest with you, there's a runner in this race, the number 7 Pride's Crossing, a first-time starter for Paulo Lobo, who I'm looking to bet in here. So I'd be looking to play against a horse like Genetics, who we see rallying for 3rd on the outside. Like I said, couldn't get out of the gate at that race. Probably will get away slowly at short odds on Saturday. And number 7 Pride's Crossing, a $1.3 million son of Quality Road, who is bred to run early on his damn side. Lots of precocious runners in there. Has been working at the Thoroughbred Training Center. So nobody at Churchill Downs has seen this horse work in the morning. I love that angle with the first star. I think it's live. So I'm going to try to beat Genetics in race number 6, Ashley.
Yeah, I was just going to add to that. I definitely like the pick as the fade. Pride's Crossing, we'll see if there's any wise guy or smart money that comes in early. $1.3 million Keeneland yearling who's out of a stakes winner. And I think, to be honest with you, I think the filly to the outside of her Conquest Dancer is much more intriguing than number 6 Genetics, who they both have similar running lines where they didn't get out of the gate. They were both off slowly. But Conquest Dancer has only got the one lifetime start, and I think has a much better chance to improve off the recent effort in career start number 2, whereas Genetics has had 4 cracks at it at this point and has been off slow or hitting the gate in all 4 of her starts. So this is a race that I really think if you're wagering multi-race exotics or even in the in-race verticals, that you could really take a stand against this favorite and find value elsewhere.
Yeah, and I'll just add on Conquest Dancer too. She was at Keeneland. We saw a lot of front running winners at Keeneland, and when she didn't get out of the gate that day, she ran well to be third, I thought, against the track profile.
It's another Wayne Catalano, Jose Ortiz pairing as well. But I'm with you all. I like Conquest Dancer, Pride's Crossing, and Bill Mott's adding Lasix for the first time with Genetics, but coming off that long layoff and finishing at best 3rd and 4 starts, I think a great chance to play against a favorite here. And I'm going to take it over to race 9, a 6 furlong allowance optional claimer for 3-year-old fillies at Churchill. And I'm fading number 8. She called at 7-2. This is an audible filly that just broke her maiden at Oaklawn at 6 furlongs in her second career start over a track labeled good. And she posted an 87 Bristnet speed figure. It is the highest last race speed rating among the field, but I feel like her competition was a bit light in this maiden special weight. And there's some rivals here who have faced tougher and I think have a better chance in this field. And Norm Cassie is a little cold this meet too, 1 for 11. And same with Ricardo Santana Jr. He's 2 for 25. So looking at that angle, I'm going to look somewhere else. I think number 7, Navy Bell at 5-1. Had an 86 Bristnet speed figure last out, so just a point lower, making her first start for Greg Foley. You've got Harbor Springs at 5-1, who I think has a chance here too. Plum Tricky and Winnekaching, who are moving up in class, but I also think have faced some tougher competition and look a little bit better than she called. So I'm fading this runner that just broke her maiden and looked good in that race, but I don't think we're going to see a repeat here.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, this is a really tough entry-level allowance. Yeah, I thought both Foley horses looked good, and you're right about that cheat call. She's going to have to keep stepping up off of that win to make it 2 in a row.
Well, before we move on to what else we're watching for this weekend, Darren, what promos do we have?
Got a lot of good stuff this weekend. Far too much for me to get in a short 30 seconds here. But we'll start with the Churchill Downs selected money back races. That's every weekend. You take a look at the races in the offers page. Up to $10 on your money back. We have a series of races on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday each and every week. So be sure to go to the promos page, go to the 10 selected races, $10 money back, and opt in to have your chance to get that money back and keep on cycling through and churning. On Sunday, we're going to offer Pick 5 insurance at Belmont at Aqueduct, the late Pick 5, and it's pretty good, up to $50 back. So if you have a ticket that's $50 or less and you get 4 out of 5, we're basically giving you a little consolation insurance payout there. So it's pretty lofty. You've seen these in the past, but not up to $50. That's a good chunk of change back on your ticket. So it gives you a little bit more incentive to get some of those horses into the sequence there that you want to get some full coverage to be able to give you some insurance back. And Monday, the unofficial start to summer, it is Memorial Day, and we are going to give you a Memorial Day odds boost at several racetracks, Belmont at Aqueduct, Churchill, Santa Anita, 15% odds boost on winning wagers there, selected wagering opportunities. So be sure to go to that particular offer and check it out and opt in as well. There's other stuff going on this weekend too. There's international stuff. There's Power Hour on Friday. Chock full of offers this weekend, guys. So be sure to go to the promos page, opt in, and take advantage of all of them. We love giving back to our players.
All right, and James, let's talk some Belmont at the Big A. So what are you watching for this weekend?
All right. Well, I'll mention on Saturday. Sometimes this Grade 2 Pennine Ridge. Some years it doesn't come up very exciting or interesting. I think on paper because there's lots of competition for these 3-year-old stakes at this time, 3-year-old turf stakes at this time of year. But I'm excited about Saturday's edition. This is going to Legend of Time is going to try to make amends for losing the American Turf as the favorite on the Kentucky Derby Day undercard. Charlie Appleby, he's going to take a lot of money in there, but he's going to have some competition. Chet Brown has a pair of last out maiden winners in White Palomino and Risk Tolerance. And I'm interested in seeing Royal Majesty return to stakes competition here for Belmont. This is a Franco colt out of Crown Queen, who in 2014 won our last 4 starts for Mod, including the Grade 1 Queen Elizabeth II Challenge Cup at Keeneland. Royal Majesty ran once in England, came over, broke his maiden at Gulfstream in late January. Didn't run very well in the Colonel M, but he rebounded from that setback with what I thought was a very sharp allowance win at Keeneland last time out. This Frankel colt to me still has plenty of promise for Mott, and I'm excited to see him return to stakes competition in the Pennine Ridge. And I'll mention real quick, Memorial Day, when I was growing up, it was huge because of all the stakes action. Now, some of those stakes have gone to the Belmont Stakes card and elsewhere, but Monday still has these Grade 1 turf staples at Santa Anita in the Shoemaker Mile and the Gamely Stakes. Always excited to watch those races. The Shoemaker Mile, I think, is going to have a good matchup. You're going to have Exalted making a title defense, Kilroy Mile winner, DeJour's in there, and this Johans. I remember him when he came to Churchill last year and ran in the American Turf. He didn't run very well that day, running 5th. He wasn't seen again, but he came back earlier this year in the Grade 2 American at Santa Anita and looked awesome. He could be really good at 4 on turf. I'll mention in the Gamely, Darren's horse, Anna Set, is supposed to make her first start back this year. Last seen winning the American Oaks, and she's going to have to deal with a couple of Richard Mandela runners and Linda's Gift and Ruby Nell, who looks pretty good off of that Buena Vista win. So I'm excited to see those turf stakes on Monday at Santa Anita and the Pennine Ridge on Saturday at Belmont at Aqueduct, Darren.
Yeah, you mentioned my horse. My original horse that I was in love with as a kid was Holy Bull, and I referenced that because you're talking about Memorial Day, which used to be Met Mile Day. Was the big day at New York. And I have a great memory of being at a barbecue when I was 10 years old, and Holy Bull, who did not run well in the Kentucky Derby and came back 3 weeks later as a 3-year-old to run in the Met Mile against older horses, which is, I could say safely, is something we will never see again. And not only won, but won by about 4 or 5 lengths. And I remember jumping up and down because he came back with a big effort. You think about that, wonder why I work in racing, a 10-year-old kid at a barbecue. Everyone's in the pool doing everything, and I'm inside watching the OTB channel to see if Holy Bull can get back to his winning ways. So fond memories of Met Miles Day for me at Belmont at Aqueduct. But older horses are going to go to the post in the Gold Cup at Santa Anita this year. It looks like a pretty decent field coming together. I know Reincarnate, who was 4th in the Oakland Handicap, is pointing to that race. Subsanador was 2nd in the Santa Anita Handicap, is another one who's likely to be in that field. Getting a look, I think, probably Reincarnate having a little fun there. But also the 2022 Santa Anita Handicap winner, Express Train, making his second race back off an 18th-month layoff. And you're getting the top 3 finishes from the Californian Stakes, potentially pointing to this race. So the field's not drawn yet, but if you take a look at the shape and the makeup of the probable starters, looks like a really interesting edition of the Gold Cup that is going to take the spot of the old Met Mile for the older horses, and probably a great betting race too as well, guys. So I'm looking forward to it.
And I'll mention on Memorial Day, we have at Churchill Downs the Grade 3 winning colors, a 6-furlong sprint for fillies and mares, and Juddmon's Dazzling Blue headlines the 11-horse field. Now, she started off on a 3-win streak, but she's placed in her last 4 and was beaten a neck in the Roxelana Overnight Stakes on April 27th. Got an old school replay right there. And then we have a pretty deep field here. I don't know that it's going to be cut and dry for Dazzling Blue. She has 3 other stakes winners in this field, including BG Warrior, Positano Sunset, and Spirit Wind. And then I also think Steve Asmussen has a chance here with Clearly Unhinged, who is looking for her first graded stakes victory. She won by 2 3/4 lengths in a second level allowance at Churchill on April 30th. And she's a daughter of Into Mischief. She placed second to Pretty Mischievous as a 3-year-old in the test, and then was 3rd in the La Brea as well. So could have a chance here. I don't know if I see Dazzling Blue winning. I think it's a chance to maybe fade Dazzling Blue as well, but certainly has a chance to improve second off the layoff.
That race, that's another race that could be hit or miss from year to year, but I'm excited. I mean, 12 horses in there. I'm going to dive into that card a little bit this afternoon, that Monday card at Churchill, but that's definitely a good field to get a full field like that. Got some no real standouts. So I definitely Dazzling Blue. She could come back and run well in there, but going to have some competition.
That video footage of Winning Colors winning the Derby, you got a live shot or a look at, I should say, Eugene Klein, who of course owned so many great horses with D. Wayne Lucas in the 1980s. Seemingly won just about like almost every Breeders' Cup race that you could think of. You just remember seeing Gene Klein celebrating. There he is there. A quick funny story about Eugene Klein. When I was in law school and I had to do my final exam for a torts class, I had a real hard time in law school reading things that didn't interest me, which is a big problem. But I get to one of the appellate briefs that I had to read, and it was from a case against Eugene Klein, who owned a series of private airplanes as part of his conglomerate. And I was like, "Oh my God, this is the guy that owned Winning Colors, among others." And it's like the only thing in that entire final exam that I paid any attention to, because it included the most prominent owner of the 1980s in it. So another reason why, if you want to know why I work in horse racing, instead of focusing on the final exam in law school, I'm worried about the owner of Winning Colors in the appellate brief reading.
I watch that replay and I see 49er flying, and I'm like constantly like, what was Pat Day doing that day? He had him too far back, had him all in traffic or whatever. Now, granted, it was a brilliant ride by Gary Stevens because he floated him out on the far turn, and that was the race. I mean, he got to the top of the stretch with a clear lead, and she was able to hold on. But that was a rough trip for everybody that was on 49er that day.
Yep.
I had no idea you were in law school, Darren. I almost went to law school too. I did mock trial in college, but it was all that reading stuff that bored me that made me decide not to go. So
yeah, when I was,
looks like we're still kind of involved.
Yeah, like when I was sitting in my apartment at school, and instead of like working on what I needed to be working on for class, and I remember I was supposed to be reading a bunch of appellate briefs for a class, I was watching like the Super Bowl trotting series from the Meadowlands because I just and I'm just sitting there going, what am I doing? Like I clearly have no interest in this. So yeah.
All right. Well, that's all the time we have for the TwinSpires jury. Not the law version, but we still bring you some law terms here in horse racing. You can check out those promos at TwinSpires, and happy Memorial Day weekend and good luck at Horseshoe Indianapolis if you're playing those double carryovers today. We'll see you next time.